Skywalkers, this is Richard, and over here is my sweetie wife, Sarah.
You can call me Jedi Tink.
And we are
Skywalking through Neverland.
Jimmy Mack here. When you wish upon a podcast, wish upon this podcast. These guys are awesome.
We are a fan-focused podcast that covers Star Wars, Disney, pop culture, and their fandom communities.
The stuff that surrounds us, penetrates us, and binds us all together as instantaneous friends.
What do you know?
We showcase what people are doing in the world of fandom and talk to those who are involved firsthand in the universes that we love.
This is Margaret Carey, Tinkerbell.
This is Jeremy Bullock, Boba Fett from Star Wars.
This is Steve Sansweet from Rancho Obi-Wan.
Hey, it's James Arnold Taylor, the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I happen to be skywalking through Neverland right now.
And I'm skywalking through Neverland.
And I am skywalking through Neverland.
I've always hated space travel.
Skywalking Through Neverland is the ultimate expression of fandom. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and our website, skywalkingthroughneverland.com.
And remember, Neverland on Alderaan.
This is just a first random question. It's because whenever we interview lots of voice actors, so the site we usually go to is Behind the Voice Actors because it has your websites and a lot of your confirmed roles and so on. It says on here that one of the fun facts is you are known to friends and colleagues as Q.
Correct.
Is that just for your first name, or is there another reason why you go by Q?
It's a nickname. People for some reason have always fancied shortening my name to Q.
So it's not like a James Bond connection, and you have lots of gadgets.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, that could be that's a possibility. I mean, Johnny Quest was based on James Bond in a way, and then what's the interesting connection is John Delancey, who played Q in Star Trek, was it Next Generation or Voyager?
Voyager, I believe.
Voyager. He actually played my father, Dr. Benton Quest, in Johnny Quest.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right, I guess we'll start with Johnny Quest because that was a big revival show in the 90s when they tried bringing back He-Man, they tried bringing back Transformers and Johnny Quest. Were you a fan of the original Johnny Quest show by chance I don't know when it first aired, but I'm quite sure it ran a lot and it was prevalent for a while.
60s Johnny Quest.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Loved it. They did reruns of it when I was a kid, so I loved watching it. I was thrilled. And so what happened is I actually guested on the first. There were 2 seasons of The Real Adventures of Johnny Quest, I think it was called, and I guested on the first season. And they had the most unusual cast you can imagine. Nobody sounded like the original characters. The director was British. He wasn't interested in honoring the original series at all. It was very surreal. And then I came in to do pickup lines for my session. And when I came in, I worked with a wonderful actor named Michael Benyer, who was the voice of Haji. And as he and I were doing pickup lines, the director, Chris Zimmerman at the time, asked me to substitute for the then absent actor who played Johnny. So as I was playing Johnny opposite Michael's Haji, it turns out there were new producers in the room with her who would be doing season 2 who wanted to honor the original series feel and format and villains and all that. And when they heard me do my Johnny, they said, wow, we think this is our next guy.
Awesome. So this would make you I think the first Johnny Quest was Tim Matheson. I believe there was one in the 80s, The New Adventures of Johnny Quest, which was Scott Menville, I think. And then J.D. Roth was season 1 and you were season 2?
Yeah, J.D. Roth was him in season 1, and I guested on that series. And then I replaced him in season 2, and I think everybody was a brand new cast. And they brought back Don Messick, and we had Frank Welker back. I think Messick was originally Bandit, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe he was Professor Billy Benton Quest.
I don't remember.
So Don was his health was failing, so they brought in Frank Welker to kind of take over and shore things up. And John Delancey played my father. a guy named Sonny. God bless, I can't remember Sonny's last name. He played Race Bannon, and he was perfect as Race. Jennifer Hale was brought in as a new character named Jessie, who was not, of course, not in the original series. And I'm trying to think, was it Ron Paulson who might have played Haji?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
I should have asked him. I literally just talked to him like last week.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Benyer was the man. He and I did the video game together along with Jennifer. And oddly enough, a then unknown actress named Lucy Liu guested on our series.
Oh?
And you know Lucy Liu, right?
Yeah, like Charlie's Angels and...
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, at the time, she was an unknown, and she came in, and she was terrific. And I said to the casting director, I have this girl back. I said, she's got some serious talent. And, next thing you know, she blew up on Ally McBeal. And then after that, she went on to Charlie's Angels and Kill Bill. And then the more recent series was called Elementary, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the time it was wild. Then I got to work with veteran actors like Ed Asner, George Kennedy, George Siegel, lots of folks that I grew up watching in television and motion pictures when I was a kid. So it was a real wild ride, yeah. So for me to...
As I recall, that show also was, at least the first one I can think of, where, people know her now for Big Bang Theory, but Mayim Bialik was a reoccurring character in Jonny Quest, and now people know her as, her fairly big role in Big Bang Theory. Yeah, I can't remember who she played. I'm blanking now. It says Julia on here. Okay. Which I saw. I last saw the show about a year ago, so I'm trying to remember through things. And I know Mark Hamill and so on showed up on there as well for different roles. I love Mark. Yeah, we work together a lot. He's a terrific guy. Are you ready to see him in a Star Wars movie again? Yeah, it should be interesting. See him in front of the camera instead of just doing his awesome voices behind it. I know, and he loves, he loves cartoons, he loves comic books. I mean, he created his own, The Black Pearl, and he is just, he's mad for comics and stuff. But yeah, it would be great to see him on screen again because he hasn't done it in so many years, and I imagine he's happy. Otherwise, he wouldn't have signed on. So that's going to be cool. I love him. He's just a super guy. I just wonder how many random crazy villains he might have him just voice. I know. He's good at that. He is. Obviously, he's most famous for the Joker, and everybody loves him for that. Yeah. He's dynamite. And yeah, if you've got the list of guest stars on there, I'm sure I can't remember him, but if you bring him up, I'm sure I will. So one of the roles that you are most known for is the role of Raiden in the Metal Gear Solid series, which recently has had the 5th game with the main series creator leaving, which, of course, as I recall, when it comes to Metal Gear Solid, that's a dubbed game, so you guys don't actually have really much to do with the actual creators and writing team. You guys just dub the Japanese voices, am I correct? Well, yes and no. I mean, it does come over from Japan, that's correct. And actually, they pronounce my character Raiden, even though it looks like it should be pronounced Raiden. And that's all right. They bring it over to the States, and of course they have to rewrite and create it and translate it for the English-speaking audiences all over the world. What they do is they do have video cameras on our faces, and then they will go into the computer and sync everything up. So we're not working to picture like they do with dubbing on anime series. We're actually recording a script as if it were an original piece. The only time we work to picture would be when they have some motion capture, or they've done all the Japanese live motion capture work that they have yet to digitize. And oftentimes we will work against those images, and so that's an interesting process. So when you do an anime dub, you do the picture and you they try to make it match as much as possible. While with the video game one, like that one, they have the software involved where they can change the mouths to make it so it matches. So you guys they just mocap you guys in a way with the camera.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. In fact, I mean, gosh, I can't tell you how many hours that I put in recording. Well, for Metal Gear Solid 4 would it have been, and Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. I had hours and hours and hours and stacks, reams of paper, and incredible dialogue. And it was all done, free form, just like we would in an animated series. We weren't really held down by time, or restrained by time terribly that I recall. It was just getting the right performance out of us. And the greatest part about that, as opposed to other video games that you usually do, is I was working opposite other actors and actresses the whole time. So everyone from J.D. Blanc, Phil Lamar, Michael Beatty, that was in Revengeance, of course, Paul Eiding, you just name it. And it was great. It was a ball.
So I know, having followed the Metal Gear Solid series since it started, I know when Metal Gear Solid 2 happened, it was kind of it was kind of a prank played by Kojima to mess with people, because it had Snake in it for the first couple minutes, and then it was all the Raiden show. And when the game first came out, it kind of messed with people's heads, and people weren't all necessarily happy. But have people come around to accept Raiden as a character? So like when Metal Gear Rising: Vengeance happened, people were fully ready to have another Raiden show?
Oh, very much so, yeah. By the time, Metal Gear Solid 4 came around, they were won over, They were thrilled. They loved the world-weary, war-torn cyborg ninja that I provided for them, with kind of the duplicitous nature of Raiden, and then when he would really tear it up in battle, Jack the Ripper, as he was called, the White Devil. And then it became even more fierce and forceful in Rising: Revengeance. And, yeah, over the years at conventions, fans would come up, and I'd say in the beginning, there were a few here and there who would say to me, I didn't care for Raiden, Metal Gear Solid 2, but then they'd say, I really loved it in Metal Gear Solid 4. And then eventually that changed to, upon further play, I really do like Raiden from Metal Gear Solid 2, and then eventually that changed into, I loved Raiden in Metal Gear Solid 2. I loved it better than 4 and then Rising. So it's funny. It's one of those things that over time people have come to accept. But in the beginning, once the game was released and that happened, somebody did come up and interview me about it, and I didn't know anything about it. I had no clue that the fans thought they'd been duped, and, they were, of course, people don't like change, so they were shocked, and what is this, and who is this character, and why have they done this to us? We don't like him. and they asked me, what do you think about that? And I said, well, I think the quote is actually up on IMDb. I said, I'm only aware that there's a pro and con, but other than that, I don't know anything. And so it doesn't really affect me personally. I did my job. I had a great time doing it. I hope that those who like it and love it, and those who don't, maybe someday will come to.
So one thing that the Metal Gear Solid series differs from a lot of video games, and you've done quite a few video games, is it has these massively long cutscenes. Sometimes it's like you play a little bit, then it's a movie. When you got to voice cuts, how is it different voicing, say, a game with so many cutscenes, such a cinematical experience versus, work with Dynasty Warriors and Sonic games and so on, where it's more of just a playing experience?
Well, I prefer, doing the games like the Metal Gear series and the Kingdom Hearts series, where we had an opportunity to interact and act and show a range of emotions, and as you, quite properly put it, a more cinematic experience, which is more fulfilling for us as actors. And I would say for those who love that particular genre of gaming, for them as well, because they have an opportunity to really get into the story, really get into the characters, and that's where the the folks really have found identification with it to such a degree that there have been young men and young women who've come up to me and said as much, that it made such differences in their lives when they were at their lowest ebb, in a sad state, or even a very heavily clinically depressed state, that these characters gave them the comfort and the support that they needed to get through hard times in their lives. And some of them have touched me so with their stories, it nearly brought me to tears. So just when we don't know once we do something and put it out there, we don't have any idea what kind of an effect it has. Sometimes it goes deeper than that, and it really, really can make an impact that in some cases they said, you really helped save my life and turn my head around. And, I'm grateful to be able to have that kind of impact, because I do live to love and serve others and help as best I can, because I've been there myself, and it's not fun when you're down and out, and everybody needs somebody to love. So that's a good thing. And as far as the other games go, I'll do them. I'm happy to be in them. I love doing it. I mean, like Rex's Rage Spear, I played in Guild Wars series, and he's great. And, he's all about mead and murder and mayhem. And so he does a lot of yelling and a lot of ordering and a bit of grunting when he gets involved in a battle, but there's not much of a character arc there.
You worked with other major game series. You worked with Final Fantasy, which you did actually got to do a film, and you got to do games, which I bet is an interesting experience, because I know with Advent Children, you did the voice of Reno, or Reno, however they want to pronounce it.
Yeah.
And I know when that one came out, that was a huge risk for them, because they had basically spent most of their income on making the Spirits Within in 2000, which still looks amazing, but it flopped horribly and almost bankrupted Squaresoft. And so then they had to do Final Fantasy X and these other games, and they had to get out of the hole. And then they tried again with Advent Children. What was the atmosphere like on a movie which they pretty much had, at least as I recall when it's coming out, it was pretty much get it right now, or they aren't going to be able to do any more movies as a company. Was that the atmosphere when you guys were doing the English dub for Advent Children?
No, I mean, if that was going on, I really didn't have any idea. I didn't know anything about it. I just had a really great work experience with that. And Quinton Flynn, of course, as Rude, was terrific. That was a lot of fun. And no, again, it was one of those things that you're telling me I didn't know. This is the first time I'm hearing that news. But it was terrific. There was a premiere at it's called the ArcLight Theater now, the Panorama Dome, that I recall, and it was just wonderful. The whole experience was terrific, and I had no idea that it would go on to such fanfare. And, for years now, when I go to conventions, people love Reno, and they're dressed up as Reno, and, they'll bring in their Advent Children, they'll tell me how many times they've watched it, and their favorite lines, and, so I'll give it to them, I'll give them I'm still out here, and, your mom's still cool. Wait a minute, what the hell am I talking about? And they dig that. So, yeah, I mean, the thing is, there's so much behind, perhaps, the business of these games that many of us actors don't know unless it gets out there in the press and it's up front.
And now we'll have another resurgence of that type of crowd with the remake, which I've talked about since Advent Children of Final Fantasy VII is happening, but of course, hopefully they'll take their time and make sure it's done as well as they can versus just rushing it out, because that's a game they can't afford to mess up.
Yeah, you're right. And I don't know in what their format is. I don't know what their game plan is. I don't know how they're going to develop it. I haven't heard a word And as I've usually said to fans, and I would say to you too, as someone who's got your finger on the pulse, again, you would know more about it than I do in terms of what the format of the game is going to be.
So have you ever, since a lot of voice actors, how about half of them say they've played the games that they've been in, and half of them say they just don't play games, and so they don't. Have you ever tried playing the games that you're in, or are you one of the ones that does the voice and you did your job and that's okay with it? You aren't necessarily the type of gamer that would play Metal Gear Solid.
Well, if I could play it, I would. I think I did. In fact, I know I tried playing Metal Gear Solid 2 when it came out. I was very excited. And at the time, my then girlfriend's brother had the game. And so we went in his room and he was playing it. I said, "That's really cool, man. Can I try?" He said, "Yeah." I started, and it was like, you know, you fail. I mean, it was really, it was like a horse trying to get out of a starting gate and tripping every time. I just couldn't go anywhere. So I said, "You know what? My hat's off to you." I said, "Dude, you're the pro gamer. I'm the pro actor. I will watch you." And that was pretty much it. Also understanding growing up, I had friends who had like some of the earliest game consoles in their homes growing up. We didn't have that at my house. The only thing I would be able to do would be to go to the arcade, play pinball, and then some of the earliest video games, Galaxian or Pac-Man or anything like that. And then beyond that, I know there was Atari and Nintendo, but I didn't have it. Maybe some of my wealthier friends might have. And then I had a rock and roll band, and I was in theater, and I studied radio, television, film. And so what was interesting is as my career grew as an artist, then this whole world of games and gaming grew, and then it got to the point where they started including acting in it. So when that came around, we were all baffled. What? What is it? What? They want us to act in a game? How's this going to work? Now, again, I would say for the folks who probably were gamers all their lives, like, maybe a Phil Lamar or David Hayter, because I know those guys love the games.
David Hayter, yes.
for them, I think it would be a natural transition. My guess is they were always gamers. So for me, though, because I wasn't, I was just baffled. And just because I didn't have the patience to do it, and I thought, that's all right, I don't mind. I like watching the work we've done when it's put online. I can bring it up and see that. I like to see that part of the work. As far as the games go, and maybe it's not the way my brain is wired. I'm also an impressionist, a comic, and a songwriter, so I kind of get my ideas out in different ways. And I'm more obsessed with the art of acting and creating than gaming. I guess that would be my long-winded answer.
That's a good answer. So we have a fan question. He says, "You were the voice of one of my favorite characters of all time in one of the shows which was my childhood, the Timon and Pumbaa show. Well, right. You got to be Nathan Lane's voice with Timon and Monty and so on. He wants to know, nowadays Disney is known for top secrecy and, stuff like they do with Marvel and they do with Star Wars, where they're trying to make sure nothing gets out and trying to keep it very secret and hush-hush, and we're very tightly controlled over their stuff. How was the atmosphere like in 1995 after Lion King came out and you got to do this really fun show where the French chef is a bad guy, based on two fan favorites?
It was great. In fact, the actor who was the bad guy, he was a French bad guy. He was a number of bad guys. I think he was a French bad guy. His name was Culinary Quint.
Yes.
So that was interesting, And every time he was a bad guy, his name was always Quint. And the actor's name was Corey Burton, who has been a long-time voice for Disney animated series and probably some films as well. I mean, he was a wonderful guy.
Professor Von Drake.
Correct. He's very, very humble. Wonderful pipes. But for me, it was a ball. Yeah, I mean, the audition process was pretty heavy. They went from 100 guys down to 50 to 25 to 14 to 9 to 3 to me. And the next thing you know, I'm doing Hakuna Matata. What a wonderful phrase. Come on, Pumbaa, let's go get some grubs. And it was a blast because they wanted, obviously, someone who could be Timon, which would include sounding and acting like Mason Lane and bringing that same life to the character. So, yeah, I had a ball. I mean, I just loved it. Back then, there was no internet that I recall, and there weren't any NDAs, which we call non-disclosure agreements, that I can recall. You just didn't talk about it. I mean, you might say to your friend, hey, I'm playing this role. It's for a new cartoon. What's it called? Oh, The Adventures of Timon and Pumbaa, or Around the World with Timon and Pumbaa. And they would just say, when's it out? So I don't know. Okay. So, but yeah, again, with the advent of the internet and the way things work and everything happened so fast, that's when all of those kind of roadblocks got set up, and anything they could do to keep it a secret became de rigueur, and that's why we've had to sign NDAs any time and every time we do a project. But yeah, no, I had just a ball and worked with some wonderfully talented people. I would do it again in a heartbeat.
So I have two more fan questions. This one, they say, I'm from the generation where when Scooby-Doo first came out, and you got to voice Scooby-Doo, a bunch of characters in Scooby-Doo Mystery, the newer Scooby-Doo show. We're from similar generations, so this is the listeners, not me. I'm not that old. So the similar generations. So what was it like voicing someone in a show, voicing characters in a show as renowned as Scooby-Doo in modern day when you grew up with the original Scooby-Doo and watched it evolve?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, of course, I remember the original Scooby-Doo, and we're obviously this person writing and calling in is more of the same demographic, I'm guessing, because we watched it from the early days, which I loved it back then. And coming in to do it this way, it was just as much fun for me because I got to play a villain. I got to play. I got to play a few roles, but I got to be the bad guy at the end when they pull off the mask, and of course, Scooby and the gang are shocked. It's the big reveal. So getting to play the villain was wonderful. Although I'd always wanted to play Shaggy or Fred, of course. But the interesting thing to me that's most fascinating is that, again, Frank Welker, I bring him up again, he was the voice of Fred, and when this series premiered in 1969, and he is still the voice of Fred to this day, and he has also gone on to become Scooby.
Wow.
Now, when I finally, oddly enough, I was over in England, earlier this year, and actually I just got back a couple of weeks ago, but my cousin was big into Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, so she found the episode that I did, and we sat and watched it. And it was the first time that I had seen it, the episode I'd done and the new version. And I mean, I personally prefer the original way they designed and animated Scooby-Doo and the art. But I thought it was pretty cool what they've done with the upgraded version. And when we did, I played a singer in a ska punk band that ostensibly died. And then they came back around as these zombies with this zombie punk rock music that were turning people into zombies, which of course goes into what's been trending for the last number of years with The Walking Dead and the like. And I got played that character, and I gave him kind of a cockney rough Billy Idol type voice. And the manager, they wanted to be a proper Brit. So I gave him kind of a John Gielgud thing, and they weren't particularly fond of that. So I gave them a James Mason type, and they weren't sure about that. And then there was a gal that I grew up on watching on TV, She was one of the first video jockeys named Martha Quinn, who was guesting on this series. And only if you were watching MTV in the 80s would you know who she was. But in this particular episode, they gave her her own music shop, so she was a music aficionado about this particular band and helped put the puzzle pieces together. And she suggested to me, why don't I do the voice of Nigel Tufnell, who is in Spinal Tap. Now it's played by Christopher Guest, who is a hero of mine. And Nigel Tufnell was not really bright. He was not really the smartest, sharpest tool in the shed, if you will. But I made him a little more upper crust. So I took him and I made him the manager of the band. So you've got him, and then you've got this guy right here, this snot-nosed punk rocker. And then I was also a doctor in the hospital who probably talked like this. Come on, Scooby, everything's going to be all right.
Yeah.
So, watching that, across the pond, as they say, with my little cousin and her mom and everybody, was a thrill. And also the music they used, as I'm bringing it all full circle now, was sung by a guy named Ranking Roger, I believe is his name. And he was in a band in the early 80s called The Beat. They called them the English Beat here in America. And he went on to create a band called General Public. Why do I bring this up? Because his band was a ska band, a new wave ska punk type of band. And here he sang the music for the Scooby-Doo episode. So I voiced the rocker, he sang the rocker, and I'm over in the north of England in Thorne, Doncaster, Yorkshire, with my cousins watching this while the youngin is loving Scooby-Doo, and her mother, my cousin Lisa, is loving hearing the lead singer from the English Beat. So amazing how this stuff happens, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a great answer. So we have one more fan question, and then we'll wrap this up. This fan says, you are the voice of Axel in my favorite video game series of all time, Kingdom Hearts. You've also voiced, since the Kingdom Hearts 2, a lot of the, you voiced in the handheld games. And soon, as they just announced, we're finally getting Kingdom Hearts 3, and the series will continue on. How excited are you to see Kingdom Hearts, this Disney Final Fantasy mashup, which no one actually thought would be as good as it is, to continue on for a new generation of fans?
I'm thrilled. I hope it goes on and on and on. I really do. Because I found a great friend in Axel and Lee, the younger version as well. And there's a whole fan base out there. I go to these conventions. I'm blessed enough to be asked to appear at these conventions all over America and around the world. I was in Canada earlier this year, and like I said, England twice. The fans dress up like them. They love him. They love his pal Roxas, and they love all the organization. And yeah, I love it. You know what I mean? I'm in hog heaven. I never knew when I auditioned for that character that it would go on and on and on. I didn't know it would develop to the degree it has. I had not a clue that you'd have this mix with Disney and Square Enix of bringing these two worlds together. I honestly, when I first saw it, I didn't think it was going to work. I thought, they were too disparate, these two worlds. And yet somehow it has worked. And I'm still waiting to get a call about, number 3. I'm just like, come on, guys, let's get this going. I'm ready. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play because I got it memorized. And, I'm in love with it. In fact, I would love for them to do an animated feature and let us all, reprise our roles. So as far as Quinton Flynn's concerned, I'll do Axel forever.
Fantastic. So last question, which we always just ask. We're going to give you the soapbox to promote yourself, promote upcoming work, promote any appearances, anything you have. So our official websites, we're going to give you the soapbox now to say what you will to the fans.
Well, okay. Well, for anybody who's listening, hey, thank you. Big love. Follow your dreams, follow your bliss. And if you do what you like for a living, it'll never be work. It may be hard, but if it's what you like, you'll have a happier life. That's number 1. And without you, there is no me. So please, keep following what I do and let me know what you like and let me know what you'd like me to do. And I'll keep stepping up to the plate and swinging the bat for you. And you can do that by, following me at my Twitter, which is at Quinton Flynn. And that would be at QuintonSlynn. That's Quinton Flynn. That's it in Frank. Quinton Flynn. What am I working on now? Currently, today I actually did episode number 1 for season 3 of a series on the Investigation Discovery Channel called I'd Kill for You. And I am the narrator, who speaks in kind of a dark film noir voice, telling you of what nasty things may happen in the next scene after this commercial. That is a really cool series. We're going to be doing for the next 2 hours. I've just wrapped production on a comedic mockumentary called WTF, which stands for something other than Let You Believe. It stands for the World Thumb... Wait, hold on. What is it? The World Thumb Wrestling Federation. And it is a mockumentary about the massive global fan sport of thumb wrestling, of course, as we all know. And I play a character named Nielsen Overgarten, which I created for this role. And he is, a bit Danish, that kind of thing. And he loves everything about the USA. It doesn't matter if he wins or loses. He's so happy to be here. And he is very much an innocent in the tradition of Andy Kaufman's Latka from Taxi, or Peter Sellers' character in The Party, or Robin Williams, Mork from Mork. All he sees is good. And if someone insults him, he doesn't get it. If something is wrong, he thinks it's right. And he's just the sweetest simpleton in the world. And I wear a USA tank top and a goofy hat. And I couldn't be having more fun at my expense and others. I got to work with Eddie Jemison on that, who's from the Oceans series 11, 12, and 13. Malcolm Denaire, who has loads of credits to his name, everything from Godzilla, live action and animated, to Christine, and Deborah Wilson from Mad TV. So it's a wonderful cast, and we'll be seeing what film festivals it gets into and what kind of distribution it gets into in the future. Gosh, what else? If you're in LA, I'm rocking the clubs with my cover band Total Recall. I'm currently writing new original music, and God only knows what's next. I just finished appearing at a Susie Wong fashion show last night for Fashion Week here in Los Angeles, and no, I was not on the runway, baby. I was not, but I was on the red carpet. So I say yes a lot, and I just keep showing up, and I keep putting it out there. So who knows? I know I have another game on the horizon I can't talk about. That'll be in production soon. And like I said, I'm just going to keep swinging the bat and hopefully connect more for more terrific roles for the fans to get into and keep loving. And I just want to thank you for this interview and the fan support. And if there's anything else you want, you just let me know, buddy.